All right, let's talk about the Tea Party, those crazy kooks. According to a new Rasmussen poll, I cannot believe this, 42% of the people in America believe in the Tea Party's basic ideals, and then another 42% believe in President Obama's basic ideals. That's nuts. Those are complete polar opposites, and basically half the country believes one thing, half the country believes in the other. It might have something to do with our left brain, right brain thing. But let's look at some further numbers. 57% of GOP voters have a favorable opinion of the Tea Party movement. 77% of Democrats and 47% of voters not affiliated with either major party view the movement unfavorably. And 47% of voters believe neither party represents the American people. Thank you for that. All right, so these numbers are really interesting, and there's a lot to go on here. But let's just start with this 42-42 thing, because that seems completely nuts to me that we could be that. Well, everyone talks about how polarized we are, and of course, if you watch MSNBC, you get one set of views, and if you watch Fox, you get another, and everyone
But every
loves
time there's a presidential election, it's like literally neck and neck. It's very rarely, you know, it's always like 49% versus 49%.
But doesn't this seem a little more extreme? Because the Tea Party is more to the right, obviously, than mainstream Republicans, and most people would argue that Obama's probably a little more to the left.
And I would argue that Obama is more to the right of mainstream libs, of mainstream progressives.
He's more centrist.
So what I'm seeing is actually just a big push to the right across the board, and that's what worries me more.
The issue with the Tea Party thing, and I'm going to sound like a horrible educational elitist here.
And we like that around here.
That is because I personally feel that knowing things is good. Part of the difficulty with the Tea Party numbers is that it's largely made up of the undereducated. And if you've ever been accosted on Venice Boulevard, Venice Beach, by the people who take surveys for the Libertarian Party, what happens is they start off with things that make perfect. Do you believe in freedom? Why, yes, I do. Do you think that individual responsibility is a good idea? Why, yes, I do. And then you get like a third of the way into the thing, and then you go, well, I can't agree with that. Do you believe that the poor should be left to starve in the streets? No. Wait, how do we get there? And as with the healthcare initiative, if people hear Obamacare, they say no, 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 and then you break it down into the individual elements, and they go, well, yes, I like that one. Well, yes, I like that you can stay on your parents until you're 26. Well, yes, I like that you can get healthcare. It's the same thing that goes on with Tea Party supporters. You say, do you agree that the Tea Party has some good ideas? Yes, I do. Do you agree that there should be more accountability? Yes, I do. And then they say, okay, 42% say Tea Party go.
So fundamentally, though, is that really an issue with, I mean, I think I have to kind of say that I probably disagree with the premise that the majority of Tea Party supporters are undereducated. I think that that's like a sweeping generalization.
That's just the ones in Texas.
I'm from Texas. No. I know many Tea Party members of Texas. I mean, I myself am obviously a progressive voter. I don't affiliate myself with either party, but I'm a progressive voter, and I have no interest in the Tea Party. But I have to say I disagree with that sweeping generalization. I think the issue here is more about polling. Polling is as a function to try and show us.
It's been a long time since I've had a good polling.
Let's have a good polling argument.
Right? Let's have a polling argument.
No, but really, I mean, I think it's 1,000 people. It's 1,000 representative voters. And then they ask questions in a way that there's only one, or it's either this answer or that answer, or I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's always the case. So do you fundamentally believe in the tenets of the Tea Party? Yes or no? I mean, what does that mean? How inclusive is that? You know, just to your point that you were just making.
Yeah,
so.
and isn't there something a little intellectually dishonest about sort of what the Tea Party is doing, which is they want the government to be incredibly small, right? Barely exist, and yet when it comes to things like women's rights and gay rights and stuff like that, they still want to control you. So they don't like the big thing, but they want it so small it can fit in your bed.
The Tea Party is fundamentally dishonest from the start because it pretends to be a grassroots organization that is strongly and powerfully supported by big money interests in the forms of the Koch brothers and I believe Roger Ailes and other unidentified individuals with deep pockets.
Right.
So that there's really a sense that you can fool 51% of the people most of the time, and that'll be just fine.
And I think they pull from two different areas, right? They try to build a grassroots movement of kind of salt of the earth individuals who are interested in more, I'd say, libertarian values, and then they combine that with this kind of Christian right movement, and they conflate those two things. And that's where you see this this kind of juxtaposition of, we want to keep the government out of our bedrooms, but at the same time we only want good Christian values in our bedrooms.
Right. It's so bizarre, because if they went on the libertarian stuff, I would support that. I'm a firm believer in low taxes and having the government be basically out of our lives. But it's the other part. We're going to get to a story on that. So my last thing on this is the last number we looked at there was the 47% believe neither party represents them. I'm going to guess that you guys sort of agree with that as a general.
Well, I think it's also interesting how 47% and 42% and 42% does not equal 100% of the population.
Well, I guess that was a separate question.
Right? That's another problem with polling, is that if you ask the question a certain way, you're going to get a certain response.
Right. So 42% like the Tea Party, but then 47% don't think anyone represents.
And the 42% like Obama, and somehow, you know.
What do you think about that? That basically half of the country is saying, well, we don't like any of these guys.
Well, first of all, we have to deal with the myth of democracy as we run it. Because I will point out, we don't choose who our candidates are. We are given a set of 4 or 5 people anointed by the party to choose from, and then we're going to sort of this mentalist trick. You guys choose between the ace of spades and the ace of clubs. You guys choose between the ace of diamonds and the ace of hearts. And then you choose a diamond or a club, and then you go and complain about the suits for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So we're already dealing with a closed circuit of representation, and we are not being represented because money is what drives the whole system. And more money is being taken out of the hands of the middle class, the shrinking middle class, and put into the hands of the very wealthy. And the very wealthy is who's being represented. So more than 47% of the population isn't being represented,
for sure,
regardless of how few it is that have figured that out thus far.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's really maybe that 47% are the individuals who have gotten wise to the idea that, oh, I think I'm tired of voting against my own interests.
Yeah.
Well, they're finally getting wise to it. Hey guys, the Rubin Reports brought to you by Coupa.com. They have up to 75% off pet treats, chews, toys, and more. And if you use code RR, you can get another 20%. That's a lot of percentage right there. I can't do that kind of math. The link is right down below, Coupa.com, code RR.